Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Paulina here talking to you about this moon. We have a full moon partial eclipse that is happening in the sign of Pisces on the 17th. And then we do have the equinox that is going to happen around the 22nd of September. And this is a very important time because this is the DC zone. And if you're familiar with astrology, it is like the part where basically things end or things go so that new things can enter. And for real, it's also marking half of the year. If you're going by the traditional calendars, if you're going by original ancient calendars, this is only just a halfway through the year. If you see that the year starts with March, and of course there's lots of information floating around online about this. I've been talking about this for years, but never mind. Let's start with this reading. So firstly, of course, have a look at my website if you like, have a look at my Patreon if you want to. And if you don't, that's fine. Let's get back to this basic chart. The chart is here, and as we can see, there's not actually a lot we can do now about certain circumstances. We can't make it more than it is, and we shouldn't have to worry or fight so hard to get a result. Virgo is a very worrying sign sometimes, and it can also be very unjust and very mean and very kind of pointy and scrutinous and emotional, it's very contracted. If you don't have enough time, time, however, is in the opposite sign of Pisces. So time we sometimes do not have. Strength, foundations, and boundaries we do not have because Saturn is an opposite sign, and we will not have probably for a really long time to come, or that's it. So if you don't have an answer from that person, if you don't yet understand where you stand in a certain situation, if you don't get it, you just have no idea what things are doing in your life, if you are experiencing a certain level of chaos that you cannot clean up and organize or get together during Virgo. And if you have absolutely no idea also how far you've come as a person maybe, and the fact that you don't need those things anymore, well, the thing is basically here not to struggle, not to hold your breath anymore. If you've been waiting for somebody to contact you, if you've been waiting for your love life to make more sense, if you're waiting for someone else to be part of your dream, and if you're also being incredibly uneconomical and you're wasting time, you need to really show up for yourself and understand where things are done and also where things are twisted. Sometimes the more we leave it, the weirder it gets. If it gets weird, so for example, you have chaos in your life, you have really unfulfilling life results, or there is really lack of understanding as to what is going on and what could have possibly been otherwise, you may need to see somebody. It's really good to see a professional, really good to see a surgeon. Sometimes during a time like this, it's really good to let matters be known and to come into this really big, full quantum puzzle piece recognition that you don't need it now. So sometimes, people do the worst thing of like sitting there waiting by the phone. They're waiting for their relationships to make sense. They're waiting for the money to come in from something where it just will not. And the worst we can do is wait. So this incredible eclipse that is happening on the 17th should really help you abbreviate things. It should help you leave things behind. It is really wonderful to have a big clean of your house, to throw away unnecessary things, and also to just see like, okay, look, I can't do this or I can't do that. There is no point of trying hard. There is nobody helping me. There's nobody respecting me in the situation, or there's just no more. And scarcity is actually a really good thing. And for me, I feel that there is something very lucky about the scarcity, is this Jupiter is actually balancing the opposition between Saturn and Mercury very beautifully. And he's basically telling us, like, don't worry about it. Like, you don't have to keep on paying for something that you did years ago. You don't have to worry about what your parents think of you. Like, stop. It's okay. If you don't feel that anything is coming up roses, if you don't have a blooming result, if you don't feel like your neighborhood is connecting to you, answering to you, if your partner's not meeting your needs, if you're no longer satisfied with something, this is it, basically. So the plane between the ascendant and the descendant is going to be completely wiped clean for certain people. If you like, you can follow me on this. The idea of resurfacing yourself into a completely different reality, different value systems, different core beliefs, releasing and relaxing the tension from the previous details, the previous bric-a-brac type of life, the previous concerns, and releasing and relaxing the tension so much that you just basically have it all together just as it is and just as it works, realizing that Virgo will usually shift the energy to greater function either way. And she usually would like things to just work out fine. It's like, well, look, this is okay. Like, I'm actually okay. I'm okay about how things are. I'm feeling gentle. I'm feeling, sure, a little boring. Sure, okay, a little boring. But I'm feeling maybe mediocre. Sometimes people would say, their results are mediocre, or, they're feeling okay about their life. But this is it, basically, from a very nice stability, from a nice, simple plane, as you look at this sort of opposition between also Neptune and the Sun. You're looking at a nice, simple, quote-unquote, normality. And then from this very simple soil, from this very simple, plain relationship with yourself and other people, you can just simply start your life over again. You can also, if you like, not necessarily count your blessings, but understand where you do and do not need to pay anymore, where you do and do not need to put in the effort. This is something that I've been unpacking a lot with my Patreon people. The idea of doing things in a better way, the idea of doing things in a perfect way, the idea of neutrality, alkalizing everything, and being absolutely free of constant vigilance and need to escape your previous realities. The idea of necessary changes being constantly like a pressing fact. It's like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. So this level of stress that you probably are going through at the moment, if you are going through this, you will need to relax about, and you'll need to somehow understand. Maybe it is something about your nervous system, maybe it is something about your heart. Of course, Virgo and Pisces opposition, they do deal with questions and problems, and there is a lot of thinking like, why are things the way that they've been, or why this body is not doing what, not necessarily I want it to, but why is my body not doing that which it used to? And it's a very, very nice time, especially for people that are more conscious and aware of themselves, to fix up and patch up any outstanding debts. For example, you have even several items of clothes in your house and they just need to be patched up. Wonderful time to prepare for the equinox in this way. It's wonderful to deal with your already forgiven or treated relationships and career choices, realizing where you now have probably forgiven and forgotten. If you did Virgo right, you would know it's like this feeling of transcendence, forgiveness, also forgetfulness. Realizing you don't have to any longer be part of a certain dream. You don't have to be part of a certain focus group. You don't have to be mad with desire. You don't have to be crazy about your house. You don't have to be crazy about your life, your lifespan, or any kind of paranoias or obsessive compulsive disorders. It's very, very nice actually to try and let things be okay, and then falling into a relationship, into a love with exactly who you are. Now, this is quite a hard question mark, because I get it. People don't necessarily want to just be themselves. Like, how boring is it to find a way out of all of these nooks and crannies and do all this self-work and self-love, and eventually you're just you. Like, what you don't get to stand there at the top of the mountain in a giant cape, like talking to the stars. You don't get to be a Pleiadian being. You don't get to work your way out into incredible wealth and incredible health. Why don't you have everything? Why don't you, why this is the hunger of the Western world, I suppose. Why don't you have more? This is the question that's coming. Why don't you just have more? Why don't you have more money? Why don't you have more energy? Why don't you have more love? Why don't you have greater results? Dragon is goofing off a little bit during this time because we're in a dragon year, and it is sometimes going to ask us questions and facetiously kind of state, yeah, cool, but this is not my idea of abundance. So this is not my idea of pleasure. And of course, you see, this kind of depends on you. And I've dealt with this a lot with recent situations with people, and also also I've blogged about this in Patreon. There is this kind of big escalating question mark that is happening, especially for the younger generation, or the people that have been groomed by the internet. Yeah, why not break the bank? Why not be like a big healer or big guru or like a giant brain? Like, why don't you just like step out there? Or like, why don't I step out there? Why don't you buy the best car? Why don't you buy the flashiest things? And that is going to be very obvious. And you see, this makes one sometimes a very poor person in other ways. Or it's like a lack of trust in life that brings people into hyperbolized awesomeness, where they really want to like get rid of whoever they are. They want to get rid of their junk, and then they want to like jump into the front seat, and they want to drive away into the distance. Like they want the Eiffel Tower, and they want like the Leaning Tower of Pizza, and they want everybody to look at them, and they want everything to work out almost as in a Disney movie. And I've seen several people that are also teaching me about this. Like sometimes when your life or your lifestyle or your livelihood is really not compatible with anything. Sometimes when people are on the brink of poverty, or they really don't have it any other way, they will use this incredible light, or they will use their showmanship sometimes to poke out and to believe in themselves beyond their means. So this is where we have trendy spending sprees, we have bougie lifestyle choices with people, you know, with maquillage and big hair, walking out into the day-to-day life and kind of teaching people, you know, what not to be, and showing themselves off. And there's quite a lot of showing us Eros being close to Venus there, and Lilith being next to the South Node, Juno, almost a conjunction. And yeah, I mean, I get it. I can see how come many of us, with also the moon being close to Neptune, will want to splash out and be extravagant, just to show our light. And some of the time people live for the holidays. They live for those special photographs, you know, they live for those special affairs that may be brewing between people. So should you really celebrate this equinox? Sure, this is up to you. But it's not that I'm coming from scarcity. I'm coming from a plane of no resistance. At the moment, I'm actually doing a lot of research into the states of neutrality. And I'm learning a lot about local culture here in Peru. And I'm starting to notice that I'm becoming like younger and smarter and more caring within myself as a human, just because I'm losing that cortisol. I am losing the urgency to obstruct my path with bigger and bigger gains. I've lost my control over my life. I've lost my control over my soul, and I've designed a life in the recent months that is not full of hyperboles, that is not full of flashy thinking patterns, that is not full of extraordinary largeness, simply because it is not sustainable. And, you know, sometimes it's interesting because nature lets you know, like you get a little knock on the door. And yes, for sure, health is a big thing in Dragon, health and healthiness and vigor and energy, and having as much as you can. And sometimes for some people, it's like making as much as you can, or being as fabulous as they can be. So yeah, for sure, cannot take it away from a Dragon year. There is a question of fabulousness and perfection and protection of that, which is massive and amazing, you know, and only wanting the best results. But you see, we cannot help as to who we really are biologically and bacterially. We can't make it past a certain cause and effect, or past a certain karma. So if you do have karmas, what I mean by karmas is, for example, you have several debts, okay, like several credit cards you're working with. For example, you have a debt with your family tree. Or you have a debt with your gut, your intestinal system is not pumping away the way that it should be. Or for example, you don't have enough faith, or you don't have enough knowledge, you know. So I wouldn't necessarily trust the huge, ginormous, even shamanic urgency to push that energy upwards and to make it, although I definitely understand, I understood through a couple of people that actually seen me recently, that in certain cases, in certain situations, it is about like, don't look back, you know, we're having a great time. So like there are certain people that are following completely new route, a new system of consciousness, and using alternative lifestyle choices, and they don't want to keep anything from their previous world and their ancestry. And there's definitely a feeling of that happening on a minor level, like for me and for certain other people I've met. But then there's also this ginormous way of like, yeah, I'm going to walk out there, I'm going to pick up my guitar, or I'm going to pick up my bag, I'm going to go job hunting, or I'm going to, I don't know, like I'm going to go out there surfing and skiing, I'm going to breathe the air, I'm going to really, really explore and take my body to the limit. So there's definitely a bit of both. So there is this kind of question of preserving and conserving. You know, Saturn on the other side is speeding up and enjoying a certain type of juvenile energy, which is Mercury. On one side we have the beautiful Neptune, which is about dreams and dreamscapes and realizing, revealing new energies, revealing new essences, understanding what the future and the past are, and clearing the air. Sometimes it is about apologies, sometimes it is about money, sometimes about decadence, sometimes it's about made-up worlds. It's just whether or not you're capable of reaching those comfortably and such, you know, without maxing out your credit card, without, you know, pulling yourself apart at the seams. And then of course on the other side we've got the sun, and it's just like the time is now, there is no past, there's not even present, there's just vibration, you know. So the sun wants to go forward, the sun wants to see things as bright and new. And also on this particular day of the full moon, you see we got amazing this cross and the circle, which is fortune, next to the sun, very close to the sun. So this is where you have discoveries, this is where sometimes people have madness and opportunity, and they don't want to do things how they've done them, and they don't want to just like stagnate away. They actually want to do something exciting and incredible. And as I said earlier, yeah, Dragon is a time where these things matter, and we want to go full alpha, and we want to go into legacy mode, and sometimes we want to be breathtaking. But what if I told you that if you soften your step, and if you just lay back and just see what happens by itself, and you stop fighting and producing certain chemicals and hormones, if you stop leading yourself around, if you stop like playing life as if it was a sport, you'll actually see that as you age as well, as the moments change, things will come back to you that were sort of meant for you. And certain other energies or choices, certain other people, they don't need you necessarily, or they will not be there after you stop supplying them energy. And this is actually quite important also to notice. If you no longer push the button, if you no longer supply so much force, if you no longer criticize yourself, if you no longer sometimes even self-abuse, or sometimes if you no longer play the game, lots of these vortexes, lots of these karmas, they will just stop by themselves. And sometimes it has to be seen to be believed. When you're no longer playing with a toxic person, and you understand that you are, like, say, plugged in and you just don't want to be, if you are no longer playing the game where you're always losing, or when you're always like missing the plot, if you are no longer supplying your employer with extreme work ability, if you're no longer trying so hard to uphold, you know, the world, like Titan, you know, Titan upholding the world, or like a person sort of working so hard, the minute that you stop, it falls apart sometimes. It reaches completion, because maybe sometimes there's nobody else that is putting all that energy in except for you. Or for instance, if you did not involve, it would just fall apart. So if you don't want to be a battery, in a very matrix kind of sense, if you don't want to be used for your money, if you don't want to be used for your comforts, if you don't want to be used for your lifetime or your life juice, your life energy, and if you want to maybe look at preservation and how you can live a life of abundance within which everything is self-circulating. It's like an ecosystem that basically just runs itself through a cycle, within which you put in minimal effort. So for example, income that just comes, more passive or natural or organic incomes that are effortless and easy to do, things that are easy to use, words that are just simple, and they come out of you very kindly and caringly. You don't have to escalate, you don't have to play games with anybody. Alkaline living solutions, alkaline sleeping solutions, eating solutions, alkaline home management. Anything and everything to do with this is going to give you a nice result. You know, so this is something that I'm also kind of noticing, partially because I've started writing the book for next year, for the year of the snake. And what I'm basically seeing for you guys, maybe not for everybody, but there will be a question: will this actually work long term? That's the question that I'm also starting to ask now, because I had a peak at 2025. So some of the time you don't need this. And I can see how it's really hopeful and completely feasible for certain people to say, I want even crude, hard, geometric, obvious, like bulky results in my life. I don't want to like explain myself in a long way. I don't want anything. I want a big, geometric, large, heavy, and bossy life. And this is okay. Then you have to realize if your body is aging. You have to realize if your back is breaking. You have to understand if your knees are shaking. If you have all this bulk and like say all this money or all this cortisol, if you have all of this power, did that by accident put a part of you out? So also looking at sporting injuries, work-based injuries, things that have happened because of effort, like I've put in so much energy and then eventually I actually ended up going down instead of up. So sometimes, you're punching at a reality, and then it can actually punch you back. So we do definitely have Saturn retrograde there in the sky, and also Neptune is retrograde as well. We do have the moon passing Saturn. It's very much about just facts and keeping it real. And to some degree also with this eclipse and other parts of the sky as well. We don't actually need to do it if it's not conscious. You don't need to do this. If there was ever like just like a one sentence for this time, you don't need to do this. If you're really strong in the mind and if you're strong in your heart and center, you would actually allow all of those dreams, all of those energies, all of those tactics, and especially manipulative or work-based ideas and relationships just basically come off you, and you just be like, okay, look, I want to bring myself up as a human, for example. Well, everybody's looking for different things. Genetically, I'm seeing that dragon is really pointing out certain genetic vibes and kind of common dominance. If you don't need to do this, you shouldn't. And this is something that only really brave people can do. It's not about complacency. It's not about disrespect. It's not about doing less than other people. It's not about like these kind of communist ideas of like coming together and doing everything for each other. Although I can see why, as we're going into Libra, that would be sort of like the ideal for certain people and tribes and different parts of civilization. I'm not talking about this. I'm just talking about trying to diminish all of the junk and the gunk. Trying to diminish all of the input that you are giving, where it's overbearing and it's shameful. Why am I saying shameful? So it's like you can put things together and recognize, wow, I've been guiding people for such a long time, or I've been cleaning up for such a long time, I've been working so much, or I've been putting in all these hours. But you see, this is actually not maybe the choice that I would have possibly given myself if I was to start life over. And also in the previous developments, as we were going through the area of the heart and Leo, if you do not have the self-love, it's very easy to go global, like boom, yeah, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do everything. And some people, I know it hurts, but that's kind of the way. Going out there and going kaboom. And deciding that you want a very freestyle, a very kind of loud or very skeptical of everything life, a sudden need to rush out there and be above other people, a sudden need to be suddenly an extroverted version of who you are, or a very, very strong decision some of the time that may be actually really potentially dangerous or climatic to make. Anything like this usually belongs with people that don't have enough warmth and comfort inside of themselves. So if you don't feel yourself, your heart, if you don't believe in yourself and how far you've come, if you don't feel that everything is enough and you can just basically gaze upon the world without having these distractions and thoughts and urges and disassociative sort of destabilizing vibrations going through your body, then yeah, so nervous system disorders are very, very great actually to notice during this time. If you have a catapulting, angry, fiery, depressing, emotional, needy, or very scarred part of yourself, the idea basically is not to pull that shadow into further action and into further attainment. Sometimes people would say, well, if an artist didn't suffer, would it even be real art? So sometimes people believe that through suffering, anger, by the skin of your teeth, frustration and depression, or even life disappointments, people get to a truth. And this is what actually makes this world go round. And this is why karma is an important topic. So the most important topic to me also at the moment is recognizing where you have been associated by your community, by your country, by your parents or other people that you have spent time with to do exactly what they want you to do. So for example, they have groomed you, they've wanted you to reenact a certain life path. And we don't even understand that sometimes until much later. And what sometimes helps us grow through it is realizing our patterns and our past mistakes. So where I'm kind of leading you is towards a strategy of letting less be more, and also not just this, allowing things to die. And this is something that I always feel is uncomfortable for many people that have come from a Western perspective of what life is and how to do life, because it's like, no, this is good, this is still good, this is still good. It's like, I'm still gonna have this clutter in my house, I'm still gonna keep up with this relationship, I'm still gonna do this, and the thing basically is to somehow simmer. And also if things get you really excited, if you have a lot of cortisol, if you also have a lot of pain, or if you have a lot of lust, or if you have a lot of needs, there's a lot of shadow inside that generates those extremes. So if there is almost sometimes, in certain cases like possession, nervous tension, hypervigilance, ability to only do one thing like at a time, really, really needy experiences as well, behavior, being obsessed with someone else, being obsessed with how another person treats you or sees you, being obsessed as to where everything goes in the house, being very, very, like really, really, like bricky and solid, is actually going to sometimes disable the most perfect and beautiful dreams that you could be possibly having. We are looking into dreams. Pisces is about dreams. We've got Neptune and the moon there. We have Saturn there as well. So it's about releasing the vortexes of karma and karmic participation. So things we also do for amusement that are not good for us. And I'm not necessarily criticizing, but you'll see a lot, especially in the Western world, we have amusements that are just not in coherence with our greater psyche and mind. Like you'll be doing things that are just, how can I say, below you sometimes. You'll participate in things that are below you, and also in terms of jobs that don't pay or people that don't like you and all of this. Some of the time you just basically have to be all right. And if you do have passion, have it for yourself. Like say, oh, I got all this passion. And sometimes people want to rip themselves to shreds. They want to rip at themselves, at their hearts, to get there where they want to go, because they believe it's all or nothing. So it's just about those, as I said earlier in previous videos, it's about this kind of like Viking personality traits. It's like, I want to like part with this world and go to the next life. This kind of sort of kamikaze idea of releasing and revealing new levels of yourself to the point where you are really actually brutal with who you are. And if you don't see it today, if you don't see the brutality or the lack of true romance and true culture in your life, and the ability to only want that which you can't have, then you have to somehow relax and just do not participate. During the eclipse time, and also when Saturn is involved with anything, anyone, it's nice to just sit there and see what things are. Virgo is perfect for just looking at things as they are. All earth signs are great for just showing you things as they actually are in a physical 3D world. And if you don't want that, I'm sorry, like sometimes people will say, no, I'm going to get there, I'm going to make that leap, I'm going to use this app, or I'm going to go to that person, I'm going to talk to this guy on the phone, something or somebody out there in some kind of mystery land, some kind of brand, some kind of publishing campaign, I don't know, some kind of thing, like witchy thing way out there. Witchiness and like mystery and magic are sometimes things like the thing that people want more than they want their everyday 3D life. It's like, yeah, okay, great, but I'm sorry, but yeah, okay. But you've got other things to do, or like say, for example, you are not sleeping well, or for example, everything that you eat and you cannot digest, or like you have an eating disorder, or for example, you have a certain type of bug. You'll need to grow up. So sometimes what people I see do is they pop on their armor and they go out there slashing at life. They go out there with their sword and they shield and they really go forward. To go out there slashing is early. We will have plenty of slashing and gnashing during Scorpio. Sometimes we're not prepared for it, but time will change and we'll have to go out there and battle things out. Sometimes it's better to prepare yourself wisely so that you don't go out there doing that inconsistently and with no real reason. So I can also understand why with this debilitated Mars and Cancer, some people will just be like, yeah, I want it today, and they feel very upset if they don't get their money, or if they don't get their power, or if they don't get their dreams met. But you see, like all this gnashing and all of this energy, it doesn't really have a lot of joy. Like, where is the joy? And the best, basically, I feel that could possibly happen is a certain relaxed, kind of like a silvery energy that should join everything together. That's the main thing. Moon and Pisces naturally joins things together, even if there is an eclipse in the air. So I feel that the worst case is to be so bombarded and to be so bombarding, and to say also, I didn't make it happen, it just happens. You are a part of it. Your energy is being used in a story, so that means you are making it happen. So in some ways, you're a participant, you're a willing participant in a certain time of your life where you don't necessarily want to be. So the whole thing basically is about resistance to change, sometimes unnecessary changes or unnecessary wants and needs, trying to retain, trying to see things as holy, and also trying to respect everybody in the picture. If you can have a nice peaceful resonance and a really, really beautiful, serene, conscious place within yourself, and with other people here, if you can retain your vulgarity, if you can also retain your assertiveness and your rebellion during this time, this is going to eventually make things leave. We are by the DC point. This point makes me very excited. This is where I also have my Venus-Mars conjunction. This is an interesting point in the sky. So the feeling of rebellion and revelation and anger and frustration and rapture and big emotional waves, and also projects that you cannot possibly handle, money that you cannot possibly afford to spend, people that you cannot even hopefully enjoy, they need to leave. So the VX point, like the best thing is to, oh wow, that was a lot of pressure. Like, for example, having a buildup of bile, or having a buildup of, like tension in your lymph, and then having it just, it's like the heart pressure, the body pressure, the digestive organs, which is very intricate, very hard work to look at them, to work with them. Allowing it all just to trickle out and just going, oh my gosh, I didn't actually even know why I was keeping this up. Letting people leave, letting people also no longer be ravenous and addictive and so like also leaving unfortunate situations where the imagination just runs wild. It's like, oh, but the sex is so good, or oh, but this person's so toxic, or there's just red flags, so just all the spiciness, all the anger, all the build-up, all that hard problems, all of those blocked channels in the body. Releasing everything and everybody that is causing you that. Anything and anybody that is harmful to you and your health. Relaxing about somebody else being something that they're not, and forgetting about them. And it's also very interesting, as I've recently found, sometimes to cross the Rubicon to such a degree where you don't want to participate with a whole layer of society. Like, for example, you've been one even of the best people in a certain group or situations, and then you eventually go, actually, Now that I look at the time, like considering my age and considering, like, say, my gender, considering my time, considering where I'd like to be in about 20 years' time, I don't think so. So this is like about not just pulling yourself to shreds and pushing yourself into like dominant roles or domineering realities. It's just about letting things stick that will not stick usually sometimes, or allowing things that usually have stuck not to stick, you know. So this is about coming out of, like, for example, I don't know, it could be a gender thing. Like you had a gender identity, but you actually understand that you don't need it anymore, you don't want to serve it anymore. So you're like, okay, it's just like coming off you. You don't have to be obsessed about it. You don't have to be upset constantly, but just forget it, you know. For example, it could be a certain substance that you're taking or a certain group of people that you're visiting. It could be ayahuasca land, for example. It could be like obsession with tattooed and kind of crazy people, or obsession with social media. You just like, you know, you kind of like let it leave you. And one of the best things is to be innocent and normal. It's kind of like when babies, you know, have certain bodily functions just come up and they don't even know what's happening to them. Like when a baby still doesn't know, what it is to pass stool, you know, or when a baby starts to burp up or throw up, it's absolutely fine, and it's very natural to just and kind of just let it come out of you. It's like, oh, oops, I don't know how I did it, but like my whole story just basically was no longer part of me. So it could be very innocent. For this, you have to relax your body. It is not an easy birth, in a sense. It's not an easy truth. So to me, I have a feeling that not everybody will probably want to follow on this, and I can see how it is. Remaining innocent in your progress. So it's not just about like being scrupulous and like, you know, doing all the accounts and being like, oh yeah, because this is what sometimes Virgo wants. Some of the time what Virgo is missing is the beauty, serenity, and consciousness, or just the romance, or just the care of everyday, day-to-day life, releasing the tension, respecting the obvious. Respecting the normal romance with life as being everyday. It's not about escalations, it's not about trophies, it's not about business deals, it's just about simple neutral. If you don't have, for example, I don't know, salami, processed foods like salt and excessive sugar in your diet, you will probably not need this, you know, information. If you don't have a lot of gastrointestinal fire in your body, then you don't need this, you know. So for example, if you've worked out a very neutral way, which is very needed these days, as to how to keep your body ticking, how to keep your life orchestrated in a very lukewarm, maybe and simple way. I know it sounds bad. It's just like, I don't know. I don't think I want to like detox ever. Like, no, it's like none of your business what I eat, you know. So like that sense of having a lukewarm, maybe alkaline or detox body is one of the best things. You know, you can allow yourself to relax because your body isn't constantly tensing, trying to process the red meat and the salami and the sandwiches and the salt and the different chemicals. It doesn't even know what they are, you know. So that's the thing. Gastrointestinal issues and a lot of radicalism sometimes is just your habits. And Virgo rules the habits. And sometimes people will be very sick just to show themselves what they really want and what they need. If you are sick, you know, the Grim Reaper comes to town, you know, with the Saturn retrograde. If you are incredibly sick, or if you have been belittled or like made redundant, or anything is completely removed, you'll need to sit and just feel or emote and just allow that innocence to resolve it. You don't have to think, okay, where's the puzzle piece? Sometimes people need that. That's it. Like they're so clogged up, they need that. But sometimes you don't actually have to do this. The best way that I've done it in the last week and a half is just like releasing anything and everything that was kind of like making me, come on, like possessing me to go forward. Come on, you got to like order these things. You got to clean up the cupboards. Come on, like, you know, you got to do this. Wow, you got to do this. So this like urgency and the state of feeling like if you don't do this, you'll miss out on a big picture in your life. This feeling of if you're not constantly catching and getting and making, you will make yourself obsolete in a situation. And then also relaxing is difficult because some people don't know how they're going to look at themselves while they are kind of like releasing all of these anger energies, anger-based energies. They're relaxing their body. And something happens also to me, when we are completely relaxed, there is a fear, will I die sometimes? Or there is a fear of, oh, I'm old. Or there is a fear of, oh, my body's stagnant. Or there is a fear of like, oh. So this feeling, now this is kind of like babies, as I said, when they make their bodily functions, they don't sometimes notice, they don't understand that they're doing it. It's kind of like, things just coming out of you. You're like, and I'm not necessarily glorifying it. It's just about relaxing your body, relaxing your soul, relaxing all your values and all of your like economic and emotional, imaginary stuff, just so that you basically release all the toxicity and the karmas and the criticism and all the tension and nervousness, just so you can basically breathe. So that's okay. So I suppose, we do have also a trine between Venus and Jupiter. So that's when we really have to know what we want. Sometimes people will spend all of their lives chasing the unavailable dreams of people. And quite honestly, quite frankly, that has also happened to me at least once. And what that does eventually is it hurts and it helps you grow, but at the same time you remember yourself and you just go, what did I just spend 5 years of my life doing? How did I do this? Like how did I do this to me? So the main thing basically I'm asking is that people have to come to understand their uniqueness and their awesomeness, and also understand the season of life that you're in. If you are in the winter, spring, summer, or autumn, if you are doing things for the best intention, or if you are trashing other people, if you're trying to place yourself in situations where you don't need to be, and if you're also being dishonest. And then this is kind of like a big judgment day frequency, it's like a judgment day in a universal, maybe in a very innocent internal level. If you really actually ever did have to do even half the stuff that you've done, and now this is like, oh my gosh, the foundations of my life are crashing. Now it's better to do this now. It's better to do this now. If you are really well and you're free to experience it, let it go. Like for example, right now I'm using balls for tennis, yeah? And I'm putting them sort of in different parts of my body, in my sciatica and such, So I'm solving my lower back problems and chronic fatigue that comes from certain disc issues. So I'm using them, and it's hard because when you unblock your body so much, when you let your body decompress and all that tension leaves the body, it's almost like there's like a fear, there's a spark of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? We need to decompress, we need to detox. We need to sometimes remove all that stuff that's been packed in there, like stuff that's been packed into your cupboards, stuff that's been packed into your gut, just to be able to breathe. And then eventually from this comes the wiser choice. So I'm coming back to relaxation, keeping the body alkaline. Why keep the body alkaline? Why be free of certain obsessions and addictions? Why be free of that stuff? Although it looks like it gives you joy, although it looks like it gives you pleasure, although it looks like it's really exciting, why be free? Why be fresh now? Why allow your body to kind of soften? Why allow your legs to be free? Why allow your thoughts to be open? Why let your body be fresh? Why allow an expansion of your body? Why allowing the trauma to finally leave? Is because inside of that is wisdom that you forgot you had. And then eventually, as we go into the equinox and past the equinox, we will be building up to another eclipse, a solar eclipse on the 2nd of October. So basically what we have to dream is a very kind of royal, regal, or very special, and sometimes it is about spectacle, sometimes for some people, but like a very humble and a very attentive version of life and oneself, because Libra is just going to be contracts, and helping you get solid. So it's not necessarily all about this. It's not about planning ahead. It's just about making this half a year play itself out, and allowing some of it to leave. For example, if you had fights, if you had decadence, if you had self-negligence, if you had obsessive compulsive disorder come back out, if you had risk-taking behavior come back out in the last few months, if you didn't want to be remembered for that, which dragon already has imprinted in you, because dragon makes a permanent mark. If you didn't like what you said, if you didn't like what you did, if you didn't like where your mind went, which is also very important, if you don't understand how the heck you've come out here, not knowing why you are even here, if you really, really don't understand, let the innocence show you, and let the shadow just run dry out of your body. It's kind of like about parting ways and not giving it any more time, not giving evil any more hope, not giving those hard to reach places any more like lust, releasing and receiving. And if you can imagine all of the cells just parting ways. Also another thing that I've been doing recently, I know, like, I used to be kind of like really obsessed with different herbs and such. For detox, I've been just drinking lemon tea, like black and lemon tea, like black tea and lemon tea with, not sugar, with stevia, which is like a Russian thing, sweet lemon tea. Okay, and that's like I've been drinking Stanley cups of that stuff for the last few days, and that's helped me soften my tissues and just basically like, allow the different things to expand and like kind of spread apart, so that eventually all that shadow, all the toxicity, all that like danger seeking, all that obsessing, all that this crazy energy gets to leave my body, so it just runs out of your body. Also the notion of good and evil, like let's get out of all of that religious stuff because it has absolutely no idea. There is like a vial of energy, right, in every cell. How about that? Okay, talking about that. Every single cell can harbor toxins, and these toxic energies, these different things, can push your body into creating certain chemicals and hormones that you don't need to create. And also what I've done recently is I've put a bubbler of water, like, in the fish tank, they have these like bubbling things. It's kind of like a tube connected to a little machine and just sends air bubbles through, like to clean the tank. I've been doing that with our bottled water, with our drinking water. And that's crazy, but it actually really helped me feel better. It helped me raise my chi. So, I mean, it's your choice what you do. It's kind of like, you want to go up. I understand why people want to go up and express themselves. I understand why people don't want to just like look at themselves like this during Dragon Year, but unfortunately, if you don't have clarity and freedom, and also sometimes it starts from the inside, if you don't have enough energy or essence, if you don't have enough not necessarily excitement, it's just like if you don't have enough natural vibration, natural flavor, some of the time the toxins and the negative energies are going to kind of like, not necessarily battle you or fight you, but they're gonna make strain or pressure inside of your own body because of your own freaking choices. It's not like the devil with a pitchfork, it's like your own choices have made a certain solid toxicity in your body. And it's not about fighting the devil within, and it's not about fighting the devil without. It's not about fighting anything. It's just about recognizing that these things have to basically leak out of your body. They have to leave. And I know that maybe some people will think it is not possible, and I understand some people will criticize me, and they would highly prefer to have some ethereal imagination as to what the divine is, but at the same time, I get you, and I understand why some people go into that. None of these people were healthy. None of them. Like, okay, just sitting there like praying to the statue of like Ganesha, Virgin Mary, or Shiva Shakti, I don't know. The presence of that does cause a certain alchemical energy. It causes a certain type of belief. It causes a certain type of geometrical reconnection. It definitely does do some harm as well, because people can go really crazy. But in a certain way, if you really, really don't understand who you are, and you're just limiting yourself with these imaginary beings and this kind of imaginary way of looking at life, you will not recognize what you really need to do. And sometimes it is about being careful, making sure that you don't eat too much of something, making sure that you have certain taboos. Like, for example, for some people, they don't eat shellfish, or they don't eat pork or red meat at all, or any meat. Having certain meter, being very careful, also being very aware, being very observant. If you have certain gases and acid reflux after a meal, you need to be observant. This is all that Virgo is. Sometimes it is just about positives also coming out from you just understanding something. You're learning something. Like, you are understanding and learning the impact that something has on your body. And then you just make a strategy that is a little bit more conscious. It's not necessarily about control. For some people it is. It's just like, what you basically want to do is you want to grow out of these energies that you've had manipulating you or playing with you in the last few months or even days. For example, if lately you just had a karma with money, or you just got obsessed about your parents again, or you got angry about your spouse or your job, and you just keep on coming back to these over and over again, it's very, very nice to let the shadow leave. And for sure, prayer can help. But if you don't cleanse the body, it's only half the thing. And sometimes it can lead to mental disorders and very strange psyche. So what I've done lately is lay down. Let the body go through its stuff. People get really obsessed about being productive. Sometimes you have to lay down and relax, because your body cannot reach certain places if you're constantly clenching it. So you just don't need to do that. So you've got your Stanley Cup, you've got your giant mug or thermos, very highly respected thermoses is like amazing things. Pouring yourself a cup of tea. Every time your cup runs dry, you pour a little bit more in, and you try to drink a little bit more. It doesn't matter what you drink, if it's black tea with lemon, if it's green tea, if it's coffee, not for everyone. If it's water, hopefully. If it is vitamin water, I don't know. It actually should just be water, honestly. But I understand why in some cases it's difficult to swallow water, so just like drinking, fulfilling yourself, is really, really nice to go on a liquid diet. It's very, very nice to open the passages in your body, so that you basically have the time and the energy to clean them. This is not going to happen overnight. This is not like swallowing a magic brew, and then 2 or 3 hours later you are completely amazing and divine and wow, like everybody's amazing. It's not like this, although I can understand how sometimes this happens. It's just about slowly releasing the evil, releasing the shadow or the accumulation, the unnecessary hormones, the unnecessary, like built-in responses, the unnecessary genetic damage as well, the unnecessary bad behavior patterns based on a clogged up liver, for example, or a clogged up spleen. Relaxing into this, and also realizing that your mind, actually, or your body do not have to be constantly in processing mode. You don't have to constantly pack your body with nutrients. You don't have to constantly pack your mind with information. You don't have to work all the time. You don't have to pack out your bank full of money. You don't have to pack out your house full of things. You don't have to pack out your relationship full of words and connections and wow, like honey, like hey, here's some flowers, like let's have sex because we should have sex 3 times a week. Like all of that consciousness, like it's just all this packing leaves, and eventually basically you come back to this nice Zen feeling. So also what to leave you with is, wouldn't it be nice to live in nature? Wouldn't it be nice to, like, say, sit there on a beautiful platform, looking out to nature? Like, if you can imagine how certain ashrams and ancient style homes are created, like, for example, in parts of Asia, even in Russia, in Africa, of course, many different parts of the world, anywhere in the world, ancient style housing is just a structure. Yeah, it's just a structure. And maybe nothing else but nature and you. This is the best. Sometimes people can't do this. This is like, no, I will not do this. This is boring. And that's your problem. That's your problem. It's like, oh, my face is boring, I need to cover it in makeup. You know, like, oh, my hair is boring, I need to bleach and dye it. You know, I can't just be with my boyfriend in the same room. I got to talk, or we're going to have sex, we're going to do something because it's boring. Now, that's just acidity. That's just toxicity. That's just issues waiting to be happening, you know, constantly. So if you get the chance, okay, manifestation for the full moon, even if it is eclipsed. Give away what you don't want. Stop arguing with yourself. And then eventually you'll get to this really nice norm. It's like, I am fine sitting on the porch of my perfectly minimalist house inside like of a beautiful garden or inside of a beautiful grove, and just enjoying the different things that are happening in nature. Look at that. It's just all happening. It's all inside of you, as it is also on the outside. You know, the feeling of like, wow, look at me just sitting there on the yoga mat enjoying the breath that I have in my body. Like, wow, look at me just enjoying my cup of tea. Sometimes, yeah, it's like, no, you got to have the shamisen. No, you got to have the Buddhist music. You got to have the singing bowls. Like, you got to like have women dancing, you know. And yeah, sometimes you can have that. But what basically nature taught me in the last year and a half is that you don't have to cuddle up to it. You don't have to need it, you know, all this neediness and emotionality. Like, oh, what is life? What is it all worth? You know, oh my God, if I was really to look at life and what it is, I would collapse. You don't have to go through it. Buddhist teachings, not for everybody, but, you know, maybe they can be helpful for some people. Minimalism. Zen, you know, doing one thing at a time, doing it well. You know, not having too many things, respecting all the things in your house, respecting all the feelings in your heart, putting them together, you know, putting them away as well, you know, having respect for your parents, having respect for one another. And then you have this nice, simple, relaxed and peaceful way of looking at life. And then eventually all of that, all this trouble, all the sexuality, unnecessary conversations, unnecessary, like unique things. Hey, guess what I've got at my house? Oh, wow, look at what I bought, you know. All of that eventually starts to be annoying to you. And then that's where we're going inevitably in a better way, in a better choice. It's annoying. Like your body's aggravated because wearing synthetics is annoying. You know, drinking caffeine every single day is also annoying. Telling somebody something that they don't understand constantly is annoying. Being yourself only like this or like that is annoying. So basically you're getting out of allergens. You are getting out of candida. You're getting out of philosophies that don't suit you. You are getting out of parental roles over other people that you don't need. You're getting out of collectibles. You're getting out of the stories that you simply don't want to live. You don't have to live. And then eventually that, wow, opens your mind. You know, so having a full stretch of your body, having a full stretch of your legs, you know, having a full stretch of your stomach, having a full stretch of your lungs, having a full stretch of your brain. You know, so you're kind of like coming out there in Libra and just like, this is nice. And even if some things are set in, you know, this is what the trouble is sometimes with regrets. People, I've done a lot of channeling for regrets on my Patreon channel recently. Even if people think I'm too far gone, I'm too old, I have too many things, I'm too self-obsessed, or I have too many people in my life, I've got too many adjustments to do to get there, to get to a state of Zen, or to embrace certain Buddhist philosophies, or just certain simple day-to-day tactful practical ways of doing life. You know, if I had the money, and now here comes the whole thing, the vaudeville of daily life, you know. If I had the money, or if I had a rich man, you know, if I had all the friends, you know, if I had more junk, my clutter would do well. But it's like, you know, if I had more makeup, I could pass for a beautiful woman or man, you know. If I had beautiful clothes, everybody would love me. If I had millions of dollars, everybody would stare at me and think I'm amazing. But you see, like, you don't have to be happy in these spicy ways, because these are not real happiness. These are not real joys. It's not a sustainable thing, you know. It's just anger masked with a smile. And also, yeah, I've been telling people a lot about the neutrality of the human mind and the human psyche and the human body and the human face. You know, it's not about like being like this all the time. Hi, you know, it's like, it's just about relieving the tension from every single muscle group in your form, and then enjoying the simplicity of everyday life. So you just basically have to no longer question, why did I do this or that? What did my mom say? La la la. You just drift away. If you can imagine, you can even meditate on this. You're sitting inside a boat, like a long boat. Fantastic. I love long boats. Just any boat. You're sitting inside a boat, Viking boat, any boat, rubber boat, any boat. Make it from natural materials. It just feels better. Just like a beautiful wooden boat, you know. And on this level of reality, you know, I got this, and the kids and the house and the dog and you know, it's like you have all of this stuff. Sometimes sit there in the boat, and inside the boat is just you wearing the most beautiful alkaline clothes, like say a kimono. You're wearing a beautiful bamboo kimono that feels, you know, feels beautiful. And say you smell sandalwood, or you smell nothing, you smell nature. And you're sitting there in this boat, and you slowly basically drifting away from all of this, you know, and there's people crying, there's people laughing, you know, you can imagine them however you like. There's dogs barking, there's cats meowing, you know, there's people poking fun, you know, like there's your ancestors saying this and that. You don't need to maybe imagine that, but you can. If it's really hard these days, you are sitting in this boat and it's slowly lulling you to sleep. You're basically leaving that stuff, and you're sitting there in this boat, or you kind of reclining a little bit, or you just sit in the boat. So you know that it matters. The moment that matters sometimes is the moment where you're really sitting, you know, like you're here, you're present. And as you grow, and like seriously, you can do this in minutes of your time, as you grow away from these thinking things, you know, you are walking or you are drifting into a horizon of just beauty, you know, and maybe all you can hear is the sounds of water, or the sound of rain, or approaching rain over the horizon, or maybe it is about birds, sounds of birds and different animals in the trees. Maybe you can hear the fish splashing in the water, and then that's it. You just basically drifting out of all of that, and you're releasing your previous psyche, and you're letting yourself grow in a beautiful, effortless way. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope this was interesting for you, and you found something good and useful. And yeah, if you like my stories, there are more on Patreon. Patreon is where I put every single star sign. I do these 45-minute audios. Yeah, for every single sign of the zodiac that I post on my Patreon. I also do some interesting stuff on Facebook, but you know, doesn't matter. And yeah, I also, for certain people, give special guidance on Patreon as well. I do these really long audios. They're more kind of slightly more personal, but they actually have all of my findings. Like everything I find, I put inside my Patreon, which is a lot, and can help people lead themselves, guide themselves where they'd like to be, or they would prefer to be. And then of course I'm writing a book. I have many books, and I've published many books. And also, I suppose, what else to add? Yes, there's readings. People can get readings with me, sure. And yeah, I think that's all. If you want, you can come to Peru. And see me if you want to have a look at what it's like over here. If you would like to educate yourself about the natural world over here, you know, if you'd like to enjoy, you know, the culture here. But yeah, there's also other choices, you know, of course. If you are interested in taking certain herbs and substances, careful, don't, like especially psychedelic ones. But if you really made your mind up, or you have previous damage from psychedelic substances, you can come see me. because I know a lot about this. I know a lot about this world, and I can help you out. So yes, that's what we're doing these days. Thank you very much. Enjoy, and happy equinox, everybody. Bye bye.